If there's one thing that impresses me in all of this, it's the fact that people actually still keep secrets. What? I am beyond flabbergasted that Producer AI is now part of Google Labs. That is insane. Let's jump into the tea real quick. Google is acquiring Producer AI, sneaky Producer AI, that shut down last week and said you should download all your stuff. Well, it seems as though this has probably been in the works for a while and nobody knew about it. Producer AI will join Google Labs and be powered by a preview version of Google's new Lyria 3 music making AI model. I don't mean to be bad, but it stinks. It stinks. I showed you here on the channel a few days ago. Just getting it to give me a basic trap beat was an uphill task. So I really don't know where they're going with this, but it seems like the people at Google, as always, know what they're doing. The platform, as you know, lets users generate sounds, workshop lyrics, remix songs, create new instruments through AI agents, and so on and so forth. But let's jump into a little bit more detailed information because it seems as though all of the outlets, the news outlets, they're carrying this story pretty aggressively. So if you dive into it, last week, Producer AI went dark with no explanation. Users received no warning. The standalone platform just stopped. I was one of those users who went into Producer AI and I downloaded some of the stuff that I had done there, and I'm glad that I did. But magically, 5 days later, today, February 24th, Google announced that Producer AI was joining Google Labs, powered by DeepMind's newest music model, Lyria 3, embedded with synth ID watermarks and available in over 250 countries from day one. The shutdown wasn't a failure, it was a handover. And little did we know that it was a handover. And in the context of everything we know, what I've been covering on this channel for the past few days, the Bain survey data, the SonarWorks producer report, Rick Beato's 10,000 furious commenters, it's perhaps the single most significant development in the AI music story so far. So let's take a look at the timeline. Read these 5 days in sequence, right? February 18th, Google adds Lyria 3 to Gemini app, quietly pushed Lyria into Gemini, DeepMind's new, and I did say it was high fidelity, and I was quite impressed. Then February 19th, standalone Producer AI goes dark. The Producer AI platform, which had been operating independently, backed by the Chainsmokers, shuts down without public explanation. Users received no announcement, the service goes offline. At the time, this appeared to be a failure. In retrospect, the deal had already closed. How foolish we were to have thought they were just being kind, giving us a revamp. The independent entity ceased to exist the moment it became a Google asset. February 19th, Sundar Pichai publishes Google's 2026 Responsible AI Progress Report. Their CEO personally publishes its annual AI ethics report. The optics are deliberate. Acquisition of an AI music platform on the same day. Google demonstrates its commitment to responsible AI development. I was getting so worked up that my content, it was short form content, and I just put it out there, but I had combined 2 or 3 of Lyria 3's outputs, and I just got on the wrist. You can't do that. You can't put anything more than 30 seconds of AI generated music with Lyria 3 on a YouTube short. I was quite taken aback. I wasn't happy about that. And I did leave a comment on Google's YouTube post about Lyria 3. I'm like, how about being a little bit more upfront? They had this in the works all along. February 20th, DJ Magazine reports Lyria 3 rolling out to global users. The music press picks up on Gemini 3, Lyria 3 story. Now, Google has a working music AI product in the hands of millions of Gemini users, Think about how fierce the competition has become. I keep telling you folks, this is an AI arms race, and anyone who is looking at AI in the face saying, I'm going to resist you, I'm not going over to the dark side, no, you can't take me alive. I don't know where you're going to be in the next let's see, 2 is even too much. How about 1 year? If you are a music producer, if you are a singer-songwriter, if you're remotely involved in the music business, mixing, mastering, any form of it, and you're not pivoting with AI, or at least pivoting to get the knowledge. Remember earlier today I covered Herbie Hancock's view, and he said, you got to get that understanding of what this AI thing is. And if you're not doing that, I just feel bad that in the next less than a year, you're probably going to be kicked out of a job. Now fast forward to February 24th. Yes, Google officially announces Producer AI in Google Labs. What a sneaky set of moves. But honestly, this is business, right? Business is business, and I'm quite encouraged and impressed that people still keep secrets in industry. Elias Roman, Senior Director of Product Management at Google Labs, he put this out there on LinkedIn, publishes the announcement, Producer AI is now part of Google. It runs, it runs on Gemini, Lyria 3. How foolish I was. There I was criticizing Producer AI for being so lame. Couldn't even give me a decent trap beat, a decent basic jazz walking bass. Couldn't do it. No wonder. The poor thing's mind had been scrambled, running on Lyria 3. What? All outputs now carry Synth ID watermarks, available in 250 countries and backed by none other than Lecrae, the Chainsmokers, and Wyclef Jean. And honestly, Back from Abu Dhabi is a banging hit. I mean, that has some oomph to it. Now, people hearing that and seeing Wyclef associated with Lyria 3 and Google, they're going to want to explore a little bit. This is a big arms race. And how foolish we were to have thought Google was just sitting idly by. Oh, there's puny little Lyria 3 churning out 30-second tracks. Those aren't songs. Isn't that what everyone said a few days ago? Oh, dear. Well, the pattern, Google launched the infrastructure, Lyria 3 and Gemini, before announcing the acquisition. The acquisition was already complete. Ink had already dried before the announcement. The standalone platform was shuttered as the deal closed. This is the playbook of a company that doesn't experiment. It deploys. Producer AI wasn't tested in Google Labs. It was absorbed into it. So let's talk about what Google has just acquired. But before we do that, I want to know what you folks are thinking. I want to know what the community is thinking. I want to know what you folks feel about this. Do you feel that Google and Producer AI did you dirty? I'm curious. We got our friend Live on Tropic said, this is big news. And the big thing, you can already use Lyria 3 in it right now. And I have to say the tracks are great. I'm glad that you're chatting in. I had a really poor experience with Producer AI some days ago. Producer AI is great, but I really don't know why I was getting such bad output. And you can watch the video. I did all sorts of prompts. Now, when I stopped giving it complex prompts, when I stopped using the, what do you call it, the microphone with Producer, and I started typing it in, I got better output. It got better. But the typical Producer AI that many of us know is a Producer AI that you just talk to, right? You just use the chat and it delivers. So I'm curious to see how things improve with Producer AI. Live on Tropic said, I highly recommend trying Producer AI now once again. I have no clue why Producer AI used a completely different model in its platform a few days ago because it was far worse. Yeah, it was. It was pretty bad. But I'm curious to know what everyone else is thinking. Chat in to me. Let me know if you think Producer AI is going to be more formidable, what you think about this. But going back into the analysis of what happened, Producer AI is not just another text to audio novelty. It was built as a professional grade production environment. As some of you know, those of you who had the opportunity to use it, I just sent my last invitation to Producer AI out yesterday to one of my buddies. You know who you are. So I'm wondering what you think of Producer AI. Go in there and try it out. But what we can tell from all of this is Google is not sleeping on AI in music. It looks like Lyria 3 was a puny little piece that they churned out as just a novelty, but no, it's not. Lyria 3 is capable. Like I said, artists like Wyclef Jean used Lyria to craft Back from Abu Dhabi, and it's a banging hit. Lecrae is a Grammy winner, Chainsmokers, big names that they have associated with their tool. YouTube's partnership in development, Google, DeepMind, Music, AI Sandbox, Gemini app, Lyria 3, beta, they've been testing this stuff for a while. And to be quite honest, the music generating tool in YouTube, which runs on the same engine, it's not bad. So I'm sure that Producer AI is going to get better. Their senior director of product management says, music is my life. I've experimented with new genre blends, expressed how I feel with personalized birthday songs for my loved ones, and made custom workout soundtracks for myself and friends. So read that carefully. The person running Google's AI music division just described making personalized birthday songs and workout music playlists as headline use cases. That's not the language of a company building tools for professional musicians. That is the language of a company building the music equivalent of Google Docs. Universal, frictionless, and free. It's quite frightening to those who are at the helm of AI music companies, and here's why. Think about how many organizations pivoted to Google Docs as a free alternative. A lot of the small to medium-sized companies, they just went that direction. Imagine if that happens with Producer AI. That's kind of scary because not everyone wants the bells and whistles of Suno that dwarfs all the other competition. Some folks are just into, I want a simple birthday song. I just want to have a blast. I just want it to do something for me. I just want background music for my video. Wow. So that whole YouTube program where they got, the big three doing business with them and paying them royalties for ads, the end is near. That's all I'm going to say. The greedy big three, they better rethink their strategy, because this means YouTube is going to be pushing the ability to make your own music for your shorts. And guess where that ad money is going? Think about that. So why is Google different from Suno, Udio, or anyone else? There have been AI music tools before. Yes, Suno, who I partner with, raised millions. Udio settled with UMG. Stability AI released audio models, but none of them are Google, the mammoth Google. And here's why the scale of what happened is categorically different from anything that came before it. Search integration. Think about that. Google is the master of the search. For a minute there, I thought that OpenAI was going to give them a run for their money. I thought Grok would give them a run for their money, but no, they've not. It's been very weak. Google search processes 8.5 billion queries a day. When Producer AI integrates with search, and it will, Make Me a Song About becomes as natural as search for. The discovery surface is incomparably larger than any standalone platform. You see, YouTube is already mentioned as a partner in the Producer AI rollout. YouTube is the world's biggest music streaming service. When AI-generated content has a first-class pathway from creation to YouTube distribution, the Deezer 34% problem becomes a YouTube 80% problem overnight. Think about that, because we know YouTube is the ocean. Now, what makes me nervous about this is what I encountered last week with Producer AI and Lyria 3. First of all, The producer AI test, it bombed, just poor output. Lyria 3 was successful, but my posting of my Lyria 3 content immediately flagged. Immediately flagged. Little did I know that this synth ID was the Trojan horse. Every producer AI output will now carry that, an imperceptible synth ID watermark. That is scary. So this is where some of the other companies might need to pivot in terms of their sales pitch, because nobody wants a Trojan horse front and center, and they're even telling you up front. Now, for the layman, they may not care, but for us music makers, for us who have albums out there and singles, we're going to be concerned. We don't want the Trojan horse. You know, the scarier thing is, what if Google becomes so mammoth in this space? They're already mammoth, but what if they become so mammoth and draconian in this space that they begin to acquire even more organizations? It's quite a scary thought. Now let's talk about the advertising margin play. Here's what most coverage is missing. 90% of Alphabet's revenue is advertising. Think about that for a second. Google is not primarily a technology company. It is an advertising company that uses technology to maximize the surfaces on which ads run. AI-generated music filling YouTube's cost Google zero in royalties, meaning every ad served against that content is nearly pure margin. Wow. The music community thinks this is a creative battle. Google is solving an advertising margin problem. Those two conversations are not happening in the same room. Think about it. 250 countries on day one. Suno took months to reach global scale. Udio is primarily US focused. Producer AI launched with global reach baked in because Google already has global reach. The competitive startups in this space just got lapped on distribution before they could react. Google DeepMind built Lyria 3. The compute power behind it is orders of magnitude larger than what any standalone AI music startup can access. The quality gap between Google and competitors will only widen, and it will widen fast. And you know Google is going to be pushing this every way possible. It's quite a scary thought, to be honest, my friends. If you are in this game, pay attention. 8.5 billion daily Google searches, 2.7 billion monthly logged in YouTube users. Think about that. The future distribution surface for AI music. You see, I just laugh when I hear people saying they're going to work to kill AI music, they're going to work to suppress it. You have giants like Google pivoting as radically as they have today. You have organizations like UMG that have already drunk the Kool-Aid. They're already positioned with Udio and Lecrae, WMG positioned with Suno. How long are we going to fight a needless battle as opposed to fighting? Let's align ethics, let's align mindsets, and let's see AI as a collaborative tool, as opposed to a tool that you keep bashing, just like they bashed the synth in the early 70s and 60s, just as people said the drum machine is a devil. History is repeating itself, my friends. We need to decide what we're going to do. So think about it. $0 royalties owned on AI-generated Google content. Wow, these guys are smart, man. This is not a music strategy. Look under the hood, my friends, and you will see this is a very well thought out, cunning advertising strategy. The single most clarifying fact about Google's producer AI move is one almost no music journalist has led with. It reframes everything: the acquisition, the 250 country launch, the artist partnerships, the synth ID watermarks, all of it. Alphabet derives 90% of its revenue. Of course, you know, Alphabet owns Google, right? They derive 90% of its revenue from advertising. Google is not a technology company that also runs ads. Think about it. It's an advertising company that uses technology. It's morphed over the years. Yes, of course, we know where it started. But where it is going today, every product Google has ever built, search, Gmail, Maps, YouTube, Android, Chrome, exists to create more logged in, profiled, engaged users in front of whom ads can be served at premium rates. Producer AI is no different. It's an advertising infrastructure play wearing a creative tools costume. Don't believe me? Check back in a year. Check back and see. What is even scarier is the Alphabet market capitalization of 3.77 trillion. 90% of Alphabet's revenue from advertising. Do the math, my friends. Think about it. The scalability of AI-generated content versus human-made music. Think about it. It's infinite. No studio time, no advances, no residuals, no negotiation. I know a lot of people are not happy, like our buddy Rick, whose comment section said, Spotify wants a library it pays no royalties to. That was correct, but Spotify's market cap is 100 billion. Alphabet's is 3.77 trillion. The company, now pursuing royalty-free AI music, is 37 times larger than the one the music community was already worried about. I just laugh. I put out a post a few days ago. I said, Spotify ain't God. People looking at Spotify, well, Spotify needs to throttle AI music. There's always going to be a bigger kahuna, and now the bigger kahuna has come out of the box. Now what are you going to do? You're going to try to shut down Google? Are you crazy? You better think of a better mousetrap, because it ain't going to work. YouTube generates an estimated 35 billion annually in ad revenue. A meaningful portion is served against music content. Every hour of AI-generated music that replaces licensed human music on YouTube is an hour of near zero cost ad inventory. At YouTube scale, a 10% shift to AI-generated content is worth billions in margin improvement annually. So if you own this stock, you should be jubilating. You should be doing cartwheels. I'm serious. You see, what people fail to realize is big business will always pivot to big business. And this is big business. You think people are up in arms about an AI created that guitar lick and you're loving it. You are a traitor. You think they care about that stuff? You see, I go through the comment section of a lot of Rick's videos, people up in arms, and I understand the sentiment, but the big kahuna don't care. You can bang your head on a brick wall all day and all night. Ain't nothing gonna happen. You gotta pivot. The big companies, you think they care about your sentiment? You think they care about you? They don't. It's all in the money. You gotta show them the money. That's what it's all about. So my friends, the grim realities, the artist partnerships, people thinking that every artist is as passionate as they are against AI. No. Grammy winners as launch partners, that's not altruism. That is the same way the Trojan horses work. They bring in an innocent appearance only to open it midway, and you realize you weren't really my friend all along, right? Google have used this strategy for a while. So they present a face of the product that looks innocent and it sucks you in, and they've won. They've won. It's all about the Napster math inverted. Napster cost the music industry an estimated $4.2 billion in lost CD sales between 1999 and 2003, and it took 2 years to shut it down and years more to rebuild. A lot of people still have their Napster stuff. Google's 3.77 trillion valuation means it could absorb that entire historical loss as a rounding error while using the legal and lobbying infrastructure to prevent any equivalent shutdown from ever occurring. The brutal simplicity is the music community is debating art, authenticity, and the soul of creativity. But Google is looking at a spreadsheet showing that AI-generated content on YouTube has a cost structure approximately 95% lower than licensed human music against the same ad inventory. There's no version of this where the spreadsheet loses the argument inside the Alphabet boardroom. So drop me a chat, drop me a comment. I'm just curious to know what you producers, musicians are thinking about this. Those of you who have already begun to pivot, tell me what you're thinking. I'm curious. Historious Official says, I heard Sony recently developed tech to track original music in AI songs. That's very true. So what they've done is they've developed a tool that will be able to tell you how much of song A was taken to put into song B. It's a very bold and audacious statement, but you see, Google is not even one bit bothered. Google is looking beyond Sony, beyond UMG. They ain't even looking like, oh, let's partner. No, they're doing their own thing. That's a gangster move right there. See? So, reframing everything we know through the Google lens, we have now compiled 3 major bodies of evidence on this channel. We've taken a look at the AI music sentiment, the Beato comment analysis, which I did on over 10,000 comments. I did an AI analysis, a sentiment analysis, and then I brought in the Bain and Company survey with a pool of 5,089 people who were interviewed. And then the SonarWorks producer survey, which I just brought out today in collaboration with the awesome Sound on Sound. Shout out to Sound on Sound UK, one of my favorites. They partnered. 1,194 people took part in that survey. And the take on AI through all of those analyses shows us that Google is not making a mistake. The Bain and Company survey showed us 62% of US consumers say they are less likely to or would not engage with AI-generated music at all. Well, what happens when the music is served chilled and fresh on your doorstep by Google? You have very little say in the matter. Boycott YouTube, and so you know what? Just go to the forest and be a hermit, because you can't escape it. Now, I do want to point out that the Bain and Company survey was in May 2025. As many of you have rightfully pointed out, this is likely to have changed radically almost a year later. What this means is Google has never let user resistance stop a product rollout. Gmail had privacy objectives, Google Maps had surveillance concerns, but YouTube's algorithm recommendations were questioned for years as well. In every case, Google's scale and integration eventually normalized the product. So the 62% opposition from 2025 May, even if it exists today, is going to eventually be normalized. The opposition among a population who will encounter producer AI content throughout YouTube, YouTube search, Google search, Gemini, whether they know it or not, is a starting condition, not a ceiling. What do you do when you realize you can't beat them? You join them, or you just shut up and move on. You get what I'm saying? Now let's talk about SonarWorks Sound on Sound report that I just published earlier today on the channel. 77% of working producers fear loss of originality above all else. Only 8.8% envision full automation. 58% said they want AI as a tool only. They want the human to retain authority. Now, I, for one, if you read my Phil-Aim taxonomy, I am one who is against whole. H-O-L, the human out of the loop. I can't stand it. But now I get shivers just thinking that maybe whole, who I predicted in my Phil-Aim taxonomy, is maybe about to come to play. I really hope not, but the way Google seems to be pivoting wildly in this direction, and the cries from Rick's comment section is now beginning to take a different morbidity. What if whole is coming? Not through Suno, not through Udio, not through Murica, not through 11 Labs, but through the Trojan horse that already resides on your phones, on your laptops, in your TVs, those of you who bought their little dongle. It's scary, isn't it? I really hope not. I really hope not. I really, truly hope not. But what this means is Google's entire positioning, creative collaborator, help creatives grow, learn, and make the music they imagine. It's a direct response to the 77% originality fear. They've read the same research. They know the language to put in. The language of producer AI is almost surgically calibrated to the SonarWorks finding. What did he say? Human artistry, creative control, and collaboration partner. It's like they've done the research, they've read, they know how to frame what they're serving. I truly hope we're just being paranoid when we're thinking about the human out of the loop and Google being even more draconian with the onslaught of AI music. But Spotify, as someone said in Rick's comments, would love nothing more than to create an entire library of music they don't have to pay any royalties to. Well, Dio Fells, you were very correct. However, I don't think your fear is Spotify. I think your fear is actually Google. Replace Spotify with Google and replace Spotify with YouTube. And this comment, the single most liked comment on Rick's video, at the time I counted, had 10,899 comments. It becomes a precise description of what Producer AI enables. The user who wrote it was describing a fear about Spotify's ambitions, but Google has now made that fear a structural reality at scale that Spotify couldn't even begin to match. Google has now built the complete vertical creation, Producer AI, distribution through YouTube, discovery, search, watermarking synth ID, which immediately tracks you down if you're lying that you created the song without AI, and monetization, Google Ads. No other company in the world has all five. X, don't get me wrong, Grok, I think you're doing a great job, but you don't have all five. Yahoo isn't even in the runnings, forget them. Everyone will bow to Google at this rate. Google is becoming the big kahuna, the whole that I predicted, the human out of the loop. Now, let's take a look at what Google says versus what Google is building. If you read the official Producer AI announcement carefully, you're going to find a lot of stuff in there. And just so you remember, in the beginning, I showed you can get some more information at this Tech Buzz document. So just Google Producer AI, Google Tech Buzz. It will come up with a Tech Buzz article and you can read a little bit more in there. But when you read the official Producer AI announcement carefully, you'll find the language that has been exquisitely calibrated to neutralize every objection the music community has raised. Here's the stated positioning alongside the structural reality. So let's take a look at what Google is saying. Our focus is on enhancing human artistry. Very nicely put. Let's put them side by side. But what Google is building, a royalty-free music generation engine embedded in the world's largest video platform, the world's largest search engine and AI assistant. And let me just preface by saying, if you've not looked into Google's VO 3.1, then you don't even get the full picture. Because when we talk about the largest video platform, we're also talking about one of the best and the most accurate in video generating models. Google has not only combined the imagery and the color and the aesthetics, but it's brought in the auditory intelligence. It's pretty ill. If you've ever created in VO 3.1, the panning of the elements, the presentation of the elements, it hardly ever gets it wrong. And when it does, the visual is still intact. Google is building a monster. They are. Google positions it as a creative collaborator, whether you're writing lyrics, refining a melody, or inventing largely new genres. But Google is building a consumer-facing tool whose headline use cases include personalized birthday songs and workout soundtracks, not studio production. Like I said, it's been a Trojan horse, built with and for a passionate community of artists. No, it's a global distribution pipeline. Producer AI will feed YouTube, will feed search, will feed Gemini, covering creation to consumption. Grammy-winning artists like Lecrae and Wyclef helped develop Lyria 3. But on the flip side, you also got to think about a data infrastructure layer with Synth ID, marking every output, giving Google the ability to track you down wherever you put your music in the world, whichever repository your music is. As long as it's accessible, Google's going to be able to track you down, regardless of platform. All outputs embedded with Synth ID means you will be tracked down to the ends of the earth. Are you kidding? Thinking I will ever release anything with the Google watermark in it? You must be joking. I ain't doing that stuff. I could create with it for fun and put it on YouTube, but it ain't making its way into my productions. They also spin it as laser focused on creative control for artists. Yeah, but think about a 250 country market entry on day one with Google's existing infrastructure, making this impossible for any startup to replicate. Now, I'm not fear-mongering about Google. Don't get me wrong. I get checks from Google on the regular. I'm grateful for Google. I'm not against Google, but I'm analyzing this as a futurist and as a business person, trying to understand the broader implications. I love a playing field with various players. I'm not against competition. I love competition. I love that this is going to put more fire under those greedy companies. And I can name some of them that are as greedy as you know what. But in context, well played, Google. Well played. And people still know how to keep secrets. I am pleasantly surprised and rather impressed. Yeah. The Gizmod test. Reviewer James Perro fed producer AI a simple prompt, make grungy rock music, and got a song with a corny blues riff, basic drums, and pretty repetitive parts. He noted, Google says our focus is on enhancing human artistry, which sounds about right considering this is the same company that thinks you want an AI filmmaker. The current output quality is not the point. The infrastructure is being built. Have you folks used Google's abilities to create video and audio from nothing in YouTube? If you haven't, let me tell you how to do it. Bring out your phone, go to Google Shorts, and the moment you hit Shorts, you're going to be met with an AI welcome page. You can import your photos, you could change them, convert them to do crazy things, and then you can wrap that up with your own AI-generated track, thereby cutting out the need for any human middleman music from any of the big three. I don't think the big three know what they've got coming. Maybe they'll watch this video and it'll give them an idea too. You know, they're all sneaky. They're always ahead and there's always a traitor in the camp. It's just that this secret didn't come out. And I think a lot of people don't understand the enormity of this secret. So let's talk about the Napster parallel since it intrigues us so much and where it breaks down. Bain and Company invoked the Napster comparison in their 2025 report, which I showed yesterday, calling AI music music's next Napster moment. The parallel is instructive, but it breaks down in one crucial respect that tells us exactly why this is worse. Think about Napster. What it disrupted was music distribution and sales. Google ProducerAI, music creation, distribution, discovery, and monetization will be disrupted. If Google really push it, I don't know, if Google want to be the good guys, they won't push it. But does anyone acquire something like ProducerAI just for fun? You think they ain't going to push it? Of course they're going to push it. Legal status. Napster, illegal. Shut down by the courts in 2001. Despite the cries of the people. But for Google in 2026, it is legal. Google has structured licensing and synth ID compliance. And they're not even dependent on any of the big three from what we know. ProducerAI has no ties to those guys. Corporate backer, a startup with no legal team. Napster was quite a sad story. Now Google, Alphabet, one of the world's most powerful legal and lobbying entities, they can play games in court for the next 100 years. They're mammoth. Labor response, they sued Napster, Napster was shut down. Well, UMG is already in strategic partnerships with Google and YouTube, you know that. You think there's a lawsuit available? Doesn't look like it. Artist response, Metallica and Dr. Dre led public opposition. It was effective. The artist response to what's going on with ProducerAI and Google, Grammy winners, their launch partners, the opposition, has been co-opted before it began. Like I said, it's a Trojan horse strategy, which is working very well. Consumer adoption required piracy, friction point for many users. But with Google's ProducerAI, it's built into products billions already use daily. There's zero adoption barrier. All you do is bring out Gemini.google.com, boom, there it is, staring you in the face. Or you go to YouTube, just like I said. Go to Shorts and it's staring at you right there in the face. I know a lot of you don't know it's in Google Shorts, but Google's been testing this stuff out for a very long time. The resolution timeline, 2 years from launch to shutdown. With Google and ProducerAI, no shutdown mechanism exists. It's not a startup. This is the Google. Napster was a fire you could put out, but ProducerAI is a city's entire water supply system being rerouted. The music industry beat Napster because Napster was a scrappy startup. It was pathetic. They couldn't even fight in the courts. No integration into people's daily lives, but Google has all three. Are you going to fight those of you Android junkies? You're going to fight your phone? You're going to smash your phone? Don't forget that Android has mammoth reach. This is a very well thought out dance, and Google isn't going to lose. The dance-off, they're going to win. So the resistance that worked in 2001 has already been structurally dismantled, don't you understand? What this means for the human music community, the SonarWorks report survey showed that 77% of producers fear loss of originality above job security. The Bain data showed 62% of consumers oppose AI music. And Rick Beato's commenters, 92% of those folks ban it entirely. Now, you know, that's the tip of the iceberg, right? Rick's audience is really extremely passionate about music and live stuff. And so you really can't take that 92% as a gospel truth. But none of that opposition has a mechanism to stop what Google just built. And I'm waiting to hear what Rick will say. But understanding the true battlefield helps clarify where resistance is still possible. So let's talk about them one by one. Labeling is the one leverage point. In a survey that I showed yesterday, 81.5% of UK consumers want AI music labeled. Synth ID is Google's watermarking system. But it's imperceptible to listeners, right? The fight for visible, mandatory, human, readable disclosure is the single most actionable campaign remaining. Deezer has already labeled AI tracks and excludes them from algorithms. Regulatory pressure on YouTube to do the same is the next front. Live music, the uncopyable moat. Both Bain and SonarWorks agree. Live in-person music can never be replicated or replaced by technology. The human connection at a concert, the improvisation of a jazz band, the presence of a voice in a room, these remain structurally immune. And that's why I've told you folks who create with AI music, it would be a good idea to use spoken word or your voice. And I'm serious because I know lots of you love what you're doing. Some of you may not be able to use your voice, and some of you might be able to. For those who can, explore that. I know it's an extra step. It requires going into a DAW, but it might be the distinguishing factor between you and other musicians. So take that seriously. The industry's survival may depend on accelerating towards live experiences and away from streaming dependency. Also, direct-to-fan economics is important. Beato's comment section showed 3,200 likes for back-to-CD and live music, and I found that to be rather far out. But the financial logic, every dollar spent on Spotify or YouTube is a dollar supporting the infrastructure that is replacing musicians. Direct fan funding bypasses it entirely. The copyright battlefield. UMG, Sony, and Warner have all filed or threatened suits against various organizations about AI training data. Google's partnerships with labels are strategic peacemaking, not full resolution. Now the question is, what training data powered Lyria 3? I know there are a lot of big names involved in the training, but Google has not disclosed this. That question is the legal fulcrum everything else will eventually turn on. But just knowing how smart Google is, and I must say, knowing how crummy ProducerAI has been over the past few days, I really don't think any of the big three's training was involved in it. Just kidding, you just never know. Education as resistance. Rick Beato's pinned comment, the antidote to AI music is learning to make real music yourself. That's what Rick said in his comment section. While SonarWorks found 58% of producers already use AI for technical tasks, but fiercely protect creative authorship. The SonarWorks creative director model suggests human music education is becoming more valuable, not less. Skills that matter, musicality, arrangement, emotional judgment, and cultural context. I encourage those of you musicians who don't teach others, now's a good time to begin to pivot, right? A lot of people are making good money by being music teachers. And if you feel like your regular gigs at the studio or your weekly jams are going away, I don't think those will go away though. I think you'll still be in demand for live music, but if you feel those are diminishing, maybe it's time to pivot as a teacher. Maybe you're a mastering engineer, mix engineer. Now it's time for you to catalog your skills and share with others. It's a good thing to do, not just a pivot. The genre split. SonarWorks found producers expect AI impact to vary sharply by genre, as I've said. Electronic music, dance music, yeah, people are kind of looser on that because it's tech and electronic heavy. But when it comes to jazz and classical and folk, we expect that to kind of pedal back as far as the AI dominance in those. AI dominates functional background music. Human artistry concentrates in performance-rooted forms. The creators and companies that accept that and move swiftly to capitalize will have a shot at enduring success. So, my friends, I am curious again, as always, this community thrives on what you think. I would love to know more about what you think. If you can share some ideas about what I've gone over with you today, that will be great. Hey, Phoenix Benjamin, good to see you, my friend. Let me know what you're thinking, Phoenix. Well, Phoenix, you already knew the handwriting was on the wall. You're one of the forerunners of the AI movement with all your book and product information. So I'm curious to know what you think. Live on Tropic said, I'm confident they bought ProducerAI to only get their stuff on team, allowing to improve their music, AI, and of course, they can get more money. That's true. With this much financial backing, like what will Suno do? How will they compete? That's a very good question. How will Suno compete? Well, let me give you my honest opinion. Suno is really far ahead. I mean, they're so far ahead, and I believe in Suno's position so much. You already know this, but I know I'm speaking to the choir. You already know that I wrote a book. What's the title of the book? It starts with Suno. Suno Music Production, the definitive guide to intentional AI creation in Suno. That's one thing. Suno Studio is another thing, and other AI music tools. Believe it or not, if you go to page 96 of this book, guess who made an appearance? ProducerAI. Not Lyria 3, because Lyria 3 had not been pushed out at the time I wrote the book. But on page 96, I say, another compelling tool is ProducerAI. ProducerAI has a defining feature, voice interaction. Truth be told, I really found that to be so compelling. I said, ProducerAI has got to make it into my book. And it says, ProducerAI's defining feature is voice interaction. Instead of typing instructions, you speak to it as you would a human producer in a studio. You describe the vibe, the emotion, the direction, what you want cooked up. This is a significant shift. Voice communication captures nuance that text often misses. Hesitation, emphasis, excitement, rhythm of speech, so on and so forth. ProducerAI turns conversation into control. Pros, hands-free, voice-first workflow, natural studio-style interaction, and strong for conceptual direction. This tool shines when ideas are still forming, not finalized. That's from my book, Suno Music Production. Check it out. I think, if you find this on Amazon, I think it will add a lot of insight to what you're doing. But going back to your question, which is a really brilliant question, live on Tropics. You do know, full disclosure, I am a Suno partner. So if you go to suno.phillc.net, you can go to my Suno affiliate link. I think Suno is so well positioned to dominate still. But I won't disclose all the secrets that I know they should do. I'll probably tell Suno myself. So I probably won't answer that question fully, but I'll say that Suno still has the ability to compete. And they are doing some of the right things they need to do. They've taken at least 2 very critical steps. And there's just a few more things they need to do to align. But you cannot compete with Google by looking at this as a music battle. That's all I'm going to say. Suno, come talk to me. Come talk to me. I'll tell you what you need to do to keep dominating. Yeah, so that's family talk. I have to talk to Suno behind the scenes about that. Historius official says, Google has many other things that take resources, but Suno's focus. So you get it. Historis is very correct. If your focus is just that, you can compete with Google in just one domain, but if you really want to compete with Google in terms of scale and size, it might be hard, except you're thinking differently. And I know exactly what Suno needs to do. They're already doing some of it, but yeah, I know exactly what they need to do. Now let's talk about remaining relevant. Let's not talk about the grander scale, but let's just talk about the music scale. As far as the music scale is concerned, once things are hopefully amicably settled with the Sonys and the UMGs of the world, I think Suno will just have the sky as a limit, because Suno's tool, let me say this loud and clear. I got to take off my infrared protection glasses to say it. If you were ever in doubt, if you were ever in doubt of Suno's prowess, let me make it very clear. Suno is still the king. They are still in the forefront, and the intelligence of their tool is bar none. So if you were, thinking of Eureka or any of the others, any of the 11 labs, ProducerAI, I bring whoever you will, Suno is still light years ahead, because their tool is so much more intelligent, artificially, but so much more intelligent than any. Trust me, I've done the homework. I've done the going to hundreds of hours in my lab. You see me in the lab coat. I'm not joking. I do a lot of research. And yeah, I decided to partner with the best. Suno is the best, hands down. I know some of you have tried version 5 on some days, and you might feel you're not getting what you're looking for. But trust me, patience is the name of the game. Suno is so much smarter than any of the other tools. Its coherence, its ability to play note for note, chord for chord, diction, and I'm not just talking about the English language, other languages. It is spot on. I know you may have to reprompt. I know you may have to join various outputs to get what you're looking for, but don't even try to compare Suno to any of the others. In terms of, so if you're talking about output clarity and cleanness and no artifacty sound, yeah, you might find some that can compete. But for us advanced musicians, we don't just need a namby-pamby tune with clarity. We need a killer banging tune with clarity. And as far as the killer nature of many of those other tools, it ain't even there. Half as much as Suno. Suno is a killer. I wrote a song. I said, Suno the Beast eats everyone for dinner. I created that orange beast muse, right? I based it on my expectation of Suno as a beast. So yeah, while to those who don't want to venture that much into uncharted, unexplored territories of music, yeah, you can find another tool to make a song, a 1, 4, 5, a C major, F major, G major, A minor, E minor. You can find tunes all day long using other tools. But when you're talking about some crazy arrangements of notes, rapidity of notes, maybe even just a simple chord, but the way the notes are expressed, Suno gets it. It does. It gets it. And there's some of us musicians, we 1, 4, 5 just don't do it for us. The 1, 4, 5, 2, 3, 6, it just doesn't do it for us. Now for us musicians who need that extra oomph, it's got to be Suno. I have not seen any other tool. So while dominance could be one thing, niche, Narrow down specialty is another. You know, in the world of business, we talk about strategy. And the great Mike Porter said strategy is differentiation, how you differentiate yourself. And I truly believe Suno can focus on differentiating themselves with the impeccable intelligence that its tool has so far demonstrated. So if I was Suno, in the C-suite of Suno, I would know what to do. I would know what to do. But the competition is becoming fierce. It's becoming fierce. I think Suno's greatest trade secret is the training. Because you could have all the same training data, but if you're not training good, you're going to have a dumb schmuck for an AI tool. And Suno's is far from that. Okay. Thank you very much for chatting in. So let's jump back into the end game. Google vertical integration, look out for that. Synth ID tracking infrastructure is scary. The February 19th shutdown is now beginning to make sense. Artist co-optation strategy is now beginning to make more sense. Suno is definitely ahead of the curve with that, you know. Even though some of the people they brought on have gotten their own share backlash. Mohini Day, exceptional bassist, and another producer who will remain nameless. But you know who he is. He took a beat and put it into Suno unlawfully. He will remain nameless. I know Phoenix Benjamin knows who I'm talking about, because he lives out there with you guys in Florida. All right. Napster's parallel, the breakdown is something else we should be thinking about. And direct-to-fan economics. Suno definitely got the memo on that one with their deal with WMG. You know, they came away with a company in their pocket. And just thinking about the creative director model, which is really more towards where musicians will go. Phoenix Benjamin has gone that one down as well. The Phoenix Method, if you don't know, go look for that book on Amazon, and you'll be able to get another great dose of instruction if you're looking to go to the next level. Phoenix, if you can you just put the title of the book in there so people know what I'm talking about? So the summary is that the shutdown has made sense. The stats that we've seen over the past 3 days, all three communities are right about what is happening. None of them have a mechanism sufficient to stop Google, though. 2.7 billion monthly YouTube users, 8.5 billion daily searches. The handwriting is on the wall. The human music community's best remaining leverage is visible labeling laws. And please, Deezer, if you ever watch this video, I applaud you on your labeling efforts, but they're very unfair in that it is one size fits all. The way AI is used in music is not a one-size-fits-all. You can't just say, you used AI, your music is AI. That's very, I should say, weak, because a better mousetrap will be to be able to break down the percentage of AI. And if we're not there yet, let's aspire to get there. Huh? I know Deezer's trying their best, but their best is definitely not good enough right now. What I would like to see is a hybrid model that shows AI was used 50%, 25%, 30%, 40%. I think that will be a fairer way for a lot of the artists out there who do a lot of hard work and then they just have one stem, one drum stem, and then you just lump everything as AI. I don't think that's fair. And let's not forget, what exactly is art? It's expression. A lot of my community are disabled. A lot of my community, they don't have the use of their limbs like they used to, their fingers, their arms. Some of them can't play the guitar like they used to. So using artificial intelligence tools to take their ideas into full creation, I don't think we should begrudge them by demonizing, oh, it's AI music, so it's garbage. No, that's their heart and soul in those songs. What are you talking about? You know, these are things that just annoy me when we talk about labeling, because labeling is all, oh, it's AI, but you forget someone's telling a story about their life. They're telling you a story about how they were hit by a vehicle, how they were immobilized for months, and you have the gall to tell me that, oh, it's just AI? What are you talking about? No. So being fair to our disabled community should be forefront, especially like Deezer's model. It just diminishes. You forgot that a human wrote the song. A human is bearing their heart to you, and all you can say is AI. It's sickening, to be honest. So the human music community's best leverage, like I said, fair, honest labeling, right? Don't forget, what makes the soul of the music is not just the voice, it's the words. And we have a lot of dear disabled folks who are writing words to their songs and sharing them. So let's not forget that. But anyway, 5 days from standalone shutdown to Google announcement, ProducerAI, you are something else. You and your buddy Google, I don't know. I'm happy, like I said, I like competition, but wow. Can people still keep a secret? I think so. I really think so. I am convinced at this point that, yeah, secrets can still be kept. All right, my friends, we've come to the end of this rather long expose on deals done in the dark. The sneaky ProducerAI folks, yeah, they must be laughing all the way to the bank at this point. But very well played. No gall, no hate, just the facts. Thank you, my friends, all of you who chatted in at some point. Phoenix says, Suno still has 2 billion under the hood and is much more advanced than the... Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Very good conversations there, my friends. Okay. Any other questions? That was a really good question that our friend Live on Tropics asked, and I will definitely be answering that if Suno wants to know more. Probably we'll do that behind closed doors. Okay, thank you, Phoenix. Phoenix says the book is called The Phoenix Method Volume 1, and Volume 2 is coming very soon, from what I know. All right, well, smash the like button, okay? Come back and watch this video again and again, because a lot of the tea that I spilled, ain't nobody talking about it the way I broke it down for you. I'm showing you what's going on. The Trojan horse revealed. Okay, well, thank you all very much. I look forward to continuing our discussion in the days that follow. Congrats, Google. Enjoy your new toy. While it works. Enjoy your new toy while it works, because you just never know with AI. Bye for now.